Hello, dear friends. Today I want to ask you a question. Who do you blame for your current circumstances in life? I want to tell you who you should blame. And that is not you. It is not the government. It is not the school system. It is not your parent. It is not your upbringing. And there are so many other things that it is not. So today, keep tuned and I'm going to tell you exactly who you should be blaming. If we haven't met before, my name is Mary Karuga from Tevri Consulting, the place where we inspire, equip, and support you to grow. If it is your first time to visit my YouTube channel, please click subscribe button for more videos like this one that will help you with your self-development, your growth, and your success. Today, I want to talk to you about something we call habits. Yes, habits. Habits are actions that we have done over and over again until they have become so automatic that we never catch ourselves when we are doing them. And these are the reasons that we create the life that we create for ourselves. They are the reason we find ourselves doing one thing over and over again. Sometimes something you really want to stop, but you find you cannot stop until you understand that your habits are creating your life. You will never change that life. And then for you to understand, you first need to understand what a habit is. How does it form? How can I change my bad habits and create some good habits? And that is what this video is all about. So habits, we've said they are repeated actions. You start as a small behavior. You do something today, you feel good. Tomorrow you repeat, you feel even better. Then the next day and the next day and the next day. Before you know it, it has become a habit. You can't even notice when you are doing it. It just comes automatic. Think, for example, of people who abuse substances. How does it start? One day they meet someone who introduces them to the substance, or maybe they read something or they see something and they decide to try. And when they have tried once, they feel good. And because it feels good, they want to do it tomorrow. And tomorrow they try again and it feels even better. And then they will continue like that, until one day they cannot stop themselves from doing it. That is how habits form. That is only one habit. And that one is the one we like talking about most. How people are abusing substances. And we like demonizing that and seeing like that is very bad. But in the very same way, we have created some small habits that are preventing us from reaching our goals. There is a habit to laziness. There is a habit to indecisiveness. There is a habit to not taking action. And those are also habits that we need to arrest and change in our lives. So how does a habit form? A habit has three components. Number one is a cue. C-U-E. Number two is an action. And number three is a reward. So a cue is a trigger, something that makes you make the decision that you normally make, something that makes you act in the way that you normally act. It is called a trigger. Something when you encounter it, you will behave in a certain way, called a cue. The number two is the action itself. After you have been triggered, what action do you normally take? And this is where the habit is formed, the action itself. So when we are talking about changing habits, you will hear me say that you first need to understand the action you take after your trigger, because that is what you need to change for you to change your habits. Then number three is the reward. We couldn't be doing anything if there is nothing we get in return. Our habits, either good or bad, we do them because we get something in return. Sometimes it's just a feeling. We just want to feel good. Sometimes there are some results. Maybe we get money. Maybe we fulfill a certain need from the actions that we take. And for that reason, we keep on doing something because of the reward. So for you to change a bad habit in your life, you need to understand what triggers this bad habit. And when I am triggered, which actions do I take? And after I take an action, what reward do I get? So what happens is that when you have done something over and over again, you develop a craving. A craving for what? A craving for the reward. And as long as you are craving the reward, you will keep on doing the same action over and over again. So let me give you an example, actually, of my own habit. Before I started my self-development journey, I used to have a bad habit watching excessive TV. Actually, I never knew, but it was destroying my life because I was not doing anything else with my free time other than watch movies. But when I studied habits and I understood how they affect our lives, I started looking for ways of changing this one bad habit of watching excessive TV. So what I did was to analyze what makes me watch TV. What is my cue? What is my trigger? And I identified that trigger. I am always triggered to watch TV when I'm bored, when I feel like I have nothing else to do. So boredom was my trigger to watch TV. The action was watching TV. Then what was the reward? My time well spent, in quotes, because that was not well spent. But anyway, by then, I felt like I have still used my time well, but that was not spending time well. So I decided to change this habit. And I came to realize that this habit had cost me a lot in terms of self-development. Because instead of spending my evenings and my weekends maybe studying or doing something that can help me develop myself, I was wasting all my time watching TV. So I identified this and I wanted to change it. So the question was then, what do I need to change? Number one, the trigger never changes. It is still there. It will always be there. So I still felt boredom sometimes. And then now the issue was, when I feel this boredom, what do I want to do with my time? And I said, instead of watching TV, I'll still be watching. And it will give me the same satisfaction, the enthrallment of having watched something, because that was my reward. But instead of watching a movie, I'll be going to YouTube and searching self-development materials and listening to them. And I became a fan of very many motivational speakers. I started following people like Risa Nichols, Tony Robbins, Miles Monroe, Dean Graziosi, and very many other people whose videos have totally helped me to change my life. So by the end of the day, I was getting the same reward, but not doing a bad habit. So there is a science behind how habits form. In our brain, there are things called neural pathways. And what happens is that once you've done something over and over again, your brain creates a pattern of that behavior. And that pattern follows the three components we've just covered: the cue, the action, and the reward. So the brain learns that every time I see this cue, I am supposed to act like this. And I'm supposed to help my owner, the person I belong to, feel this feeling or get this reward. That is how the brain works. Think, for example, if you're going to a place for the first time. The first day you are going, you are so keen to notice the road, the name of all streets that you pass, the name of all buildings. You take note of everything. And your brain is registering that path until you reach your destination. Then the second day, you'll still be somehow alert and trying to maneuver through your path to your destination. But from the third day and going forward, the brain has learned, and now it can follow that pattern by itself. It does not need you again to notice the building or anything. You can even go there with your eyes closed. That is how our habits form. The first day we are doing something, the brain is fighting it. It is alert and it wants not to do it if it's a bad habit. The first day, but if you continue and insist and do that thing, and you succeed and you feel the good feelings, you reach the point of feeling something from your behavior, you have destroyed yourself, because the brain will start craving that feeling, whatever it is. In most cases, our bad habits make us feel something that we want to feel. So once your brain has identified your actions and then identified the rewards you get from those actions, it forms a pattern, and the pattern sticks. And now the problem with the brain is that there is that one pattern of doing this one habit, and then there is another and another and another until they are very intertwined, that changing one becomes a very, very big problem. And that is why changing bad behaviors or changing any behavior is very difficult, because your neural pathways have now intertwined and you cannot tell how to pull one out of the other. And that is why when you are trying to change a habit, it is advisable not to go all in trying to change it all at once. It is more advisable to first identify these three components. What is my cue? What is my action? And what is my trigger? And it's always advisable change the action. Leave the cue and the reward intact. Change the action. And that is possible because now you're not trying to rub out a whole pattern. You are just trying to change a component within one pattern. And that one the brain can do, and it can do easily. So that is how we change behaviors. So let me think of some behaviors that we all want to change. For example, there are people who really struggle with waking up early. They find themselves snoozing the alarm button once, twice, thrice, until maybe after 1 hour they are still sleeping. So how can you change such a behavior? Number one, identify your cue. And your cue here, the trigger that makes you snooze and snooze and snooze, is that alarm going off in the first place. So you have first to leave that intact. The alarm has to go off at this time. Then ask yourself, when it goes off the first time, what is my natural response? You might find your natural response is actually to pull the blanket and even cover yourself even more so that you don't feel the cold and you don't wake up. But now that is what we need to change. But before we change, let's go to the reward. Then what reward do you get after the alarm has gone off? You have covered yourself better. What is the reward? An extra few minutes of sleep. That is what you are looking for. That is what your brain has been accustomed to look for. That is what your brain craves every morning. So we want to disrupt this pattern. What do we need to do? Number one, the trigger will still remain. The alarm will go off at exactly 5 a.m. If that is where you have set yours. That is where mine is set. After it has gone on, what action do we want to take? And this is where the rubber meets the road. So for me, I decided that whenever my alarm goes off, the first thing I do is to remove my legs from the bed. If I want to sleep some more, let me sleep, but my legs are hitting the ground. So whenever my alarm goes off, the first thing I do is just to go to the edge of the bed and put my legs down. That disrupts the pattern of my habit because it was used to the alarm rings, I cover myself, I sleep a few more minutes. Nowadays, the alarm rings, the legs are out. How will I sleep some more? So I also changed the reward. In this case, there are some places you also have to change the reward. In this case, I changed the reward. When my legs hit down, what reward do I want to experience? So I decided my new reward will be me seeing off my children as they go to school. I had missed that a lot because I used to do it a while back and then I had stopped for a long time and I was feeling guilty. And one of the reasons I really wanted to have this habit of waking up early is so that I can see off my children as they go to school and maybe at least share a breakfast with them. And that really made me happy. So it became my new reward for waking up early. And from then, I've never again snoozed my alarm after 5 a.m. And maybe now for you, is there a habit that you are looking to change? There is no shortcut. It is the very same process. You have to identify what is my trigger, what is my response to that trigger, and what is my reward. When you have those three figured out, then you can change any habit. And as I said, focus on changing the action. That is easier to work on. The other thing we need to do is to learn how to start new habits. And the beauty is starting a new habit is easy. It is not as difficult as changing an old bad habit. Starting a new habit is all about creating your own cue because now it does not exist. You have to start from scratch. check, what do I want to be my trigger to take this new action? Number 2, create the response. Which response will I be taking, or how will I be responding after I am triggered? And number 3, what do I want to create as my reward? For example, you may want to start reading some more, and reading is good. Acquiring knowledge is one way to set yourself apart from the pack, from the people you are competing with. So one of the best ways to start a reading habit is to create a new trigger. And the trigger could be anytime I find myself free. So the response should be that you have some books or some reading materials that you keep in a close range, so that anytime you are free, you can reach out to them and read. Then you have to create for yourself a reward. After you have enjoyed this book, what reward do you want to give yourself so that tomorrow you feel the craving to come and read? And it can be as simple as deciding on a snack that you love, and decide every time I read 2 pages of this book, I'll be eating one of these snacks or a handful of these snacks. So for me, for example, my reward is I have some snacks. I like peanuts and sometimes cashew nuts. I have to have some nuts around me. So what I do is that I keep them somewhere where I'm seeing them. And then I decide when I finish writing, because my thing is writing, not reading. When I finish writing, maybe writing 500 words, I will take a bite of my snack. And that keeps me very motivated to finish those 500 words so that I can take a bite. Then I discipline myself not to take a bite until I finish doing what I wanted to finish. So in the same case, create new habits for yourself, following that pattern. Cue, action, and reward. And your life will totally change. I hope you have enjoyed the video. I hope you have learned something new. If you have, please subscribe. And if you can, please share this video with your friends so that they can also learn. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.